Right now, we are listening in to the latest COVID-19 vaccination guidelines. Switching gears momentarily, right now I am joined with Dr. Rey Saldaña, the president of Communities in Schools. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Absolutely. Good morning. It's a pleasure to be on.
Now, Dr. Saldaña, we're getting reports that 1 to 3 million students have not had in-person learning since last March. How is this affecting students around the country?
Well, the biggest thing we need folks across the country to consider is imagine that these 1 in 3, these 250,000 students in a place like Texas who have gone without any teaching since March of last year, 9,000 in a place like Florida, that these could be our own children, and what we would do to ensure that they are not falling behind, falling through the cracks. And we need to consider what the world is going to look like, not just to get these students plugged in and saying, you know, let's pat ourselves on the back because we've got them to show up for virtual class or in person. We have to understand the real valley that these students may be going through now as we learn to uncover what it looks like to develop relationships with these students so that they would trust us. And that's what we do at Communities in Schools. We're working in 2,900 schools across the country alongside teachers and principals, because the bottom line is this: teachers are going to be asked to do a Herculean job to make sure that students who are 4 months, 6 months, 12 months behind, if you look at the comparison of students who are Black or brown or living in poverty, who may be 6 to 12 months behind in class, teachers are going to have enough on their plate before we ask them to also be social workers, psychologists. That's the work of Communities in Schools and other nonprofits who are coming in to develop relationships with these students, because what we're going to have to measure is not just attendance and test scores, but levels of engagement. How are we ensuring that that student who is dealing with issues at home or in their community can be turned on to living before they get turned on to learning? And that's the long term rather than just the short term snapshot of let's make sure they get back into school. There is a long road ahead.
Now, for students who do not have the option of returning to in-person learning, what are some ways that parents and teachers can keep their children engaged during this time?
This is still a country, and in many neighborhoods and communities, still a place where our parents trust public education. So what that means is that we trust that public education will care for our students in no matter the format, whether that will be in person or virtual. But what needs to be true, even in virtual settings, that teachers and parents come to an agreement, is that we are working on not just the latest steps in math or calculus or English and history, but that we're truly developing relationships now between those who work at school and organizations like ours at Communities in Schools that focus specifically on students, to ensure that we are connecting with them in important ways so that they remain engaged. I can tell you that as an organization that's been around for 40 years, combating issues like absenteeism or dropout, that slow process of a student disengaging begins quickly. And we know a lot of students who are turned on virtually, but it may not be turned on to making sure that they're connecting with their students or their teachers. So the relationship now between parents and teachers needs to be stronger than ever, especially because in some of our communities, especially those where students are suffering through the effects of poverty and the undoubtedly economic crisis to come, there will be a lot of parents who count on the teachers in the schools. So we need to ensure to invest in those schools so that schools and teachers can help hire the support they need to truly connect with students on that level.
Dr. Saldaña, your organization, Communities in Schools, is doing a lot of work when it comes to keeping students engaged, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic. Where can people find more information?
Well, we hope that folks who want to find out more information about this new lever for change, how do we change the insides of public schools to meet the reality outside, that they'll visit us at communitiesinschools.org. We're in 26 states all across the country and growing. Now we believe is our moment so that we understand the non-academic concerns of our students as much as we're focused on their academic concerns.
Thank you so much for joining us. News Now from Fox returns right after this break.